choice, and I have as my guest once again Dr. Mrs. Jane O. Eja. Doc is a counselor and with the Counseling Center here in UCC. And today we are having a conversation around aggressive behavior. Last week, if you were with us, you realized we talked about passive behavior. Today, we are looking at aggressive behavior. Good morning, Doc.
Good morning.
Many thanks for joining us. You look good.
Thank you very much. You also look good.
Thank you. So we are back again today. Aggressive behavior. What is it about?
Yeah, let me take this opportunity to greet my great listeners. Once again, good morning. Yeah, when we talk of aggressive behavior, it's one of the types of behavior, and it's individual actions or conduct that intend to cause harm, injury, or distress to others. It also involves intimidation or dominate others. This one, other people also use it to disregard the rights, boundaries, and the well-being of others. So in general, we will say that such actions are generally hostile, destructive, and violent.
So there's a connection there with aggressive behavior and violence. Or
Yes.
people who exhibit aggressive behavior, most often than not, are violent.
Most often, they are violent.
Let's look at the characteristics of these individuals. What do they exhibit? How do I know that this particular trait is semblance of aggressive behavior?
Thank you very much. Individuals exhibit different kind of attitudes and behaviors, and one of the characteristics that can be found among people who exhibit this aggressive behavior is verbal aggression. Normally they use harsh words, harsh or abusive language, threats and insults to intimidate others or to belittle others. They normally use threats, harsh words, abusive language to intimidate others. Another one is they are very, very physical. They like fighting. They engage in physical acts or intimidate others, such as kicking, beating, hitting, punching. They like doing that one. And they are also dominating. They like dominating others. They have the desire to control or dominate others. And this can be done through intimidation or coercion. They will use force. Another one is they like blaming people. They have the tendency to blame others for their own problems or feelings rather than taking responsibility. So even if they have done something, they will never accept it. They will blame other people for making that thing to happen. They will never take responsibility for that one. We can also say that such people, they are vindictive, very, very vindictive. They have a very strong desire to revenge or retribute against those people that they perceive that they have done something wrong to them. So if they realize that you have wronged them, they will never forgive you. They will try and retaliate. Whatever means they will use it.
How bad can this get? How bad? You talk about they can result in punching people. How bad can it get with people with aggressive behavior?
It is really bad. It can land them in so many situations that are very, very uncomfortable. When we get to the effects, we will know what actually the reason why I'm saying it is really bad. But before that, let me also say that they easily become angry. They easily become angry over little or minor issues that we are discussing. They have no patience at all, and they are very, very hostile. Very, very hostile. And at times, too, they are very impulsive in the sense that they normally involve themselves in an act without thinking about the consequences of that act. So they will jump into an act and do it, whether it is going to cause them or not. They will never think about that one. Then I would say they like manipulation.
In terms of?
To gain, they like manipulating others in order to benefit. That is, they will use either coercion or they will use any form of control to manipulate others for their own benefit. So, for example, if they want to gain something from somebody and they realize that it is not going to be easy, definitely they will use force or coerce individual. At times, they will use deceit for their own benefit. Any other means that they will gain that and they will use it. So they like manipulating people.
And people, you're still tuned into ATL FM 100.5. My guest in studio this morning, Dr. Mrs. Jane O. Eja, helping us to understand what aggressive behavior is all about. And we are on the characteristics of aggressive behavior. You're at liberty to get interactive with us. You can share with us if you have any questions. You can let them trickle in. 027514 4949 0595743866. So, Doc, I was going through a document, and just like you have mentioned, some acts that can be likened to people who exhibit aggressive behavior. You touched on the physical violence. There's a bit that I want you to explain: gossiping and spreading rumors about classmates. How does that amount to aggressive behavior? They said this part of their trait.
Yeah, it's part of their traits. Gossiping, giving names to others, it is all part of aggressive behavior, because when they use this one to intimidate others, to pose threats to others, they say nasty things about individuals. For example, they gossip about you destroying your personality, you see. So most of the time, they also use non-verbal aggression. They also involve themselves in that one. Like, they can use staring. They can stare at you in a kind of way that it poses a threat. And they can also use blinking of the eye. They are all non-verbal cues that they can use to cause threats for people.
Non-verbal aggression?
Yes, non-verbal aggression. Like the way I'm saying, staring at individual. They have a way of frowning at their faces. Then if you look at them, then you become afraid of them. They can also use blinking of the eye. It's a form of showing aggression towards one another.
What causes aggressive behavior?
Before we go to the causes, they also exhibit some characteristics I just want to point.
Please point out.
That is lack of empathy.
They do not empathize at all.
Not at all. They don't have any understanding or caring about other people's feelings at all. So they don't look at whatever you are looking at, your perspective. They don't care. You don't care about your feelings. So if you are dealing with such people and maybe you are finding yourself in an uncomfortable situation, even if you voice it out, they will brush it somewhere. They won't even mind you. They lack empathy. And they like involving themselves in arguments, because they are always ready to fight. So the little issue, they will argue with you and it will end up in conflicts. And most of the time you will see them restless. That is inability to relax themselves and to compose themselves. They are always searching for something to involve themselves in. So these are the little things, ones that I will add to the characteristics.
Great. Now let's look at the causes of aggressive behavior.
Now, we have so many causes, but I've selected some few. I will talk about family dynamics. Family dynamics. That is individuals' exposure in the family. So if somebody is in the family and that individual is exposed to violence in the family, definitely that person is going to be a bit, because it is an attitude, it's a behavior that the individual in the family is exhibiting. So frequently, if you observe it, if you come into contact with such behavior, definitely one day you are also going to exhibit this kind of behavior. Then lack of parental supervision and inconsistent discipline. You see, parents, we have a lot of duty to perform. So if you have brought forth, there is the need to take a very good upbringing of that individual. So if you don't supervise whatever that individual is doing, that child is doing, and that child is in the family observing this kind of violence in it, gradually that child is also building up some kind of traits within him or her. So it is going to be an issue as the child is not being supervised, as well as inconsistent discipline.
So you have to be on top of issues when it comes to upbringing of your ward to be able to deal with this.
Yes. As for the upbringing of it is the duty of the parents to make sure that you supervise your child, you discipline the child when the need comes. You don't have to pamper them. You pamper them to some extent, but when there is the need to correct them, you need to do that.
We live in a world, the current system we run, parents are always on the run. Parents are they are looking for money because they need money to take care of these kids.
That is where the problem lies, because most of the parents, we are neglecting our duties, and most of us, we are leaving them into the hands of the house help, and they are not ready to go in for state. So we are causing more harm to ourselves than good. So it's better we take care of that situation. Other than that, it's going to escalate and nothing can be done about that one. If you have a whole lot of people who are very aggressive in the community, what do you think is going to happen to the people in the community? They will involve themselves in a lot of activities, criminal activities, that is going to cause the community.
Now, let's look at some other causes.
So another cause is peer influence. If an individual associates him or herself with people who are violent, people who exhibit this kind of aggressive behavior, they will also form part. Definitely, they will learn certain things. So you realize that some of the aggressive behaviors are learned. They are learned. Then others too can come out from personality traits that individual possess. So this can predispose them to exhibit aggression. For example, we have this temperament, cholerics. They have this kind of aggressive behaviors. They were born with it. You see, these people are born with it. And for that matter, nothing can be done. All that we need to do is to help them to manage it and control it. Another one is stress. You know, if you go through high level of stress, it can lower inhibition, and this can cause aggression, increased aggression in an individual.
That means that you don't want stress anywhere around these individuals. And because we always go through stress, one will ask what level of stress can...
That is why I say high level of stress. Maybe we have a way of determining the level of stress.
Maybe some tool of assessing
as for stress, you cannot do away with that. Everybody can go through stress. But if it becomes too high, then there is a tendency that it will lower inhibition and increase aggression.
Especially if the person already has that personality trait.
Yes,
say it's a choleric and the person goes through stress, then we are in trouble.
Yes.
Let's look at some other causes.
Then you also have past trauma. If an individual has gone through some kind of experience that wasn't good or favorable, it can also generate into this aggressive behavior. For example, if that individual, there is a come into contact with a situation that reminds him or her with that experience, there is a likelihood that the person is going to be aggressive at that particular moment. So you can realize that it is a situational thing. It is not part and parcel of that individual. That individual is not born with it. So it is a certain situation that has caused it. Then substance abuse too. People who take in drugs. It can be alcohol, it can be any other thing. This thing can impair their judgment and increase their impulsivity, and it can lead to aggression because it also diminishes their or lower their inhibition.
So people who resort in all manner of drugs?
All types of drugs. Yeah, they can also exhibit this aggressive behavior.
Just before you go on, people, you're still tuning into ATL FM 100.5. The topic or the conversation is around aggressive behavior. I have in studio with me Dr. Mrs. Jane Eja. counselor with the counseling center here in your university of competitive choice, and we've been looking at what aggressive behavior is, the characteristics. Now we're looking at the causes of it. Your liberty, you can share your thoughts with us if you have any experience at all. You have any questions, the resource person is here. You can let them come so that you would get the right answers. You know that it's a learning process. Every day is a learning process. So you gather some of these things and then build your personality with, so you don't fall on the wrong side of the well. Yes, Doug?
Yeah, then another cause I would say is situational factors. We have provocation. If somebody provokes you to extent that you cannot cope with it, you exhibit this kind of aggressive behavior. Then frustration too also can cause it. For example, persistent frustration, such as unmet needs. Maybe you need something, you have struggled and you are not getting it, or you are not achieving some kind of goal that you have set. It makes you become very aggressive. So unmet needs also can cause it, because you become too frustrated. And the little thing, the trivial thing, you become so angry and you are irritated. Then some medical conditions too can also cause it. People who have gone through chronic pain, they know they are sick. There are no treatment or no cure for that one. They are always in pain. Such people, they can become aggressive at any time.
Or anybody who's gone through a trauma can also exhibit this trait. Post trauma disorders.
I've already said that one. So if you are going through any chronic pain because of certain medical condition, it can also lead you to that one. You know there is no hope for you. You are always in pain, and you know what's pain. If you are in pain, you know what you go through. It is very, very uncomfortable, very, very unpleasant. So in such situations, at times you become so fed up. So you become aggressive. Even people come to you and they are asking you the little thing, you become so angry because of the kind of pain you are going through. So certain medical conditions can also put people into this kind of situation.
Is it possible, though, that somebody would have or will be going through such behaviors, and that individual may be unaware of these characteristics or what they exhibit? Then the other person on the other side is is the individual who experiences it.
I would say not the person not knowing it. You become aware. For example, if you know you get angry easily, you fight with people a lot, you are aware of that situation. But what matters is that they are not in a situation to manage it. They don't even have the edge to say that this is causing problem for me, so there is the need for me to seek help or support from somewhere so that I manage myself. They think it is part and parcel of them. It is their lifestyle.
Exactly the point. So they don't admit that that is a challenge, because this is what they do.
Yes.
Me, this is who I am. I'm aggressive. If you don't take care, I'll punch you. If you don't take care, I'll do this to you. And so, how do you? I'm sure we'll get to how to manage it, but for the individual not to be aware that the things I do, they have negative consequences on the next person close by, may be difficult.
Yeah, as for that one, it's very, very difficult. That is why people try to complain, because to them it is normal with them. It is part and parcel of their behavior and they're exhibiting it. So if you complain about it, they don't see any thing serious about it. Unless people try to move forward, caution them, talk to them frequently, it is then that they become aware that, oh, this kind of attitude or behavior that I'm putting up, it is causing more harm to others. It is a challenge for others. Me, I don't see anything wrong with that. So if it is a challenge for it, then maybe let me take a step
Are there
forward.
some other causes so we can now enter into the effects of aggressive behavior? Let's look at the effects.
Yeah. With the effects, I would say that it brings about isolation, social isolation, because nobody wants to come into contact with such people who can insult you at any time. They will use abusive words on you. People who can coerce you, use deceit in manipulating you. if people realize that this is the type of behavior that you exhibit, definitely no one wants to come into contact with you. They will avoid you. So a time will come that you be lonely, you will be isolated. Even if you go to people, you realize that people are running away from you. So you become socially isolated. Then also it can cause health problems. Frequently you have been talking negatively, you have been abusing people, you are easily irritated. And whilst you are doing that, and though I am not from a medical background, I know it's going to be a challenge for you, because chronic aggression can lead to stress-related health issues such as hypertension, that we normally call BP. It can also lead to heart diseases, and at times I read a book and it can even weaken your immune system. So if you are going to have all these health challenges and you are still involving yourself, then it's going to affect you seriously.
Because when you talk to the doctors, they'll tell you that for you to be aggressive, to be on the move, this hormone they call adrenaline, and adrenaline causes increase in blood pressure. So I'm sure it's consistent with that. So if the more you're always aggressive, you're almost always getting into arguments on the run, then you stimulate these hormones that would intend bring up your BP, and that may kill you one day.
Yes,
unfortunately.
So we are causing a whole lot of diseases for ourselves. So we need to be extra careful. As for aggression, everyone can be, but it shouldn't be chronic. It shouldn't be consistent. Then we can also bring about legal problems. I said when I was talking about the causes, I said they like involving themselves in physical acts, violence. They like fighting, insulting, because there are some people, if you insult them, they will never spare you. And at times you can involve yourself in this kind of fight and you can hit somebody and the person can collapse or something can happen. It can cause assault to an individual and it can lead you to prison. They can arrest you, you can be fined, you can be incarcerated, you see. So it is not all that good. It can lead to legal issues where it can affect your quality life.
And sometimes they destroy property as well.
Sometimes too. And
so
at
in
times
schools,
too, they don't use their physical energy. They can use any other weapon that they come across to cause distraction.
So you have students in school who always engage when there are riots, they are always part of it and they are destroying
especially TL and Oba. At times when they have a class, you see the damage that they cause.
I'm sure that is why the management of the university decided that we'll have to tame this a bit and manage how these interhalls and other things go on, so that we don't experience. But if there are some other effects, we're wrapping up the conversation.
We also have relationship strain. Now, if you're an individual and you frequently...
Are they able to sustain relationships as well? Marriage and other things? I mean,
it
people
depends on the other partner, because they are exhibiting this kind of aggressive behaviors. So it depends on the other partner. If the other partner thinks he or she can cope with the situation, you see that they will still stay, but they will be complaining. They will face a whole lot of challenges. But most of the time, the relationship is unstable, very, very unstable. And it can lead to divorce. It can lead to a whole lot of challenges between you and your partner, as well as your family members. Because if this kind of attitude is what you have been exhibiting every day, people will become fed up with you.
What advice will you give to a couple if you find that a party is exhibiting aggressive behavior to the extent of harming the other party?
I would say that if there is, to some extent, some of the level you can manage it, but whereby you realize that you cannot manage it and it can cause your death, then you need to seek help. You need to seek help immediately, because you cannot still continue that it is my relationship, I have to maintain it, I don't want any other person to hear anything concerning my relationship. No. If it is going to cause death or going to cause any injury or is put you in a situation that will destroy you, then quickly you have to seek help. And by seeking help, where do you go? You have to seek help from the counselor, professional people who have been trained towards that. You
want to come to UCC Counseling Center, and they are there to help you manage some of these things. Finally.
Then also, such people, they have challenges at their workplace too. because it is the same attitude or behavior that they will exhibit at the workplace. So when it happens like that, at times they face a whole lot of disciplinary issues. At times, some of them too can even be sacked, because if they have cautioned you several times, but still you are exhibiting, you can lose your job.
You will be rusticated if you're in school.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we're out of time. So thank you. I know the conversation will still go on. We are grateful for your time this morning. Right, you just heard from Dr. Mrs. Jane O. Aja. The dog is a counselor with the Counseling Center here in your University of Competitive Choice. The conversation has